So good evening, mentorship traders. We are on a Saturday evening. This is the 2nd of October 2021, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Like always, we're going to take a look at the markets first, the major indices, and then we'll move to your stock specific questions, doubts, and discussions. Nifty, this is the daily chart. Let's start with the weekly chart. I have some info lines drawn here just to evaluate the size of recent corrections. There we go. So what we have is a down week, which is okay, 1.8% on a week-on-week basis, 323 points down. Ankit, it is requested not to use the webcam. It will eat up a little bit of space. Thank you. Nice to see you though. Welcome to the Mentorship Invest Meet. So coming back to the Nifty, 323 points down. It looks like a dark cloud cover on the weekly charts based on the candlestick parlance. Yes, it does. We have a 18,088 kind of a move that we I think saw on Wednesday. But it's a sign that the markets have touched and tested the 18K mark, and now it decides to just cool off. The cool off can be seen very clearly over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of drag, which has taken the index back to this quite important, critical, crucial support cluster support zone. Friday's trade was decently volatile. It's more like a doji, very small bodied spinning top kind of a behavior, testing a low of around 17,433. This is where we have a cluster, the previous lows, a little bit of highs, point of control from volume profile. In fact, if I show you the 75-minute time frames, I have a cluster of Fibonacci extensions and a retracement. So all in all, 17,400, 450 definitely is an important zone, even if it decides to drag itself further down. This entire cluster is an important support zone, and so going forward we can expect this support to hold in the short term, and then we can expect maybe a bounce back or a follow through correction. I think in one of my recent daily videos I was mentioning the fact that we have barely seen any multiple legged correction since the lows of November 20. Most of the corrections were one-legged except this one, which was a multiple-legged correction, and there were consolidation. So let's see which way are we heading here. Going back to the 75-minute time frame, we can clearly see that the index has kind of corrected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of legs on the downside. So the short-term trend is vulnerable. The supports are holding so far so good. As we do tonight's session, take a look at the global markets. The Dow Jones had bounced back 482 points and SGX closed at 70,618. So close to 80 points, 90 points gain it's showing as per the SGX Nifty. So we can expect a bullish opening on Monday morning. Important to see will be how far it can sustain. I've drawn a simple trend line, just marking the recent highs just to see how well it breaks out. On the upside, from a very short-term perspective, this lows, which is 17,615, 17,620 kind of cluster, this is going to be an important short-term resistance. And I think Monday mornings, I think the first half would be important, which will give us clues which way we are heading for the rest of the week. Bullishness should continue. We should maintain the bias on the long side. We should look to buy into these dips, but we should also be a little careful and cautious because the markets have tended to become a little volatile, and upsides may not sustain so well. So will the down breaks may not sustain. So there will be volatility, and it is important that we should be careful, cautious to protect our profits and book them as soon as possible. So let's maintain a bullish view on the Nifty and let's see how it plays out. Bank Nifty, again, you can see over here if it's a little bit of too much drawings that I've done on the Bank Nifty chart. Nevertheless, to give you some perspective, it's bounced back from its decent supports as well. So both the Bank Nifty and the Nifty held well on Friday's trade. You should spend some time on the RRG graphs here on a 1 week perspective just to check the gains and losses. We can see it's the PSU banks, the energy, metals, pharma, auto, and the mid caps that did fairly okay. IT corrected, financials, private banks. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? PSU banks, one of the biggest gainers, and private banks, one of the biggest losers. So that's how we feel the empathy that we should have for the Bank Nifty. Poor index stuck between the two legs, PSU bank showing strength, and the private ones, which enjoy the maximum weightage, is actually dragging it down. Real estate was flattish, but it's in a beautiful trend. Now let's go back to almost 3 months perspective. Let's have 12 to 13 weeks. And now let's sort it in terms of the tail. IT, real estate, and consumer durables, all three are in the leading sector. With IT losing momentum, you can see it's coming off. So IT stocks, most of the IT stocks you will see will be going through a short-term correction. They will come close to their short-term supports and they will tend to give us a bounce back. Those bounce backs can be shallow in nature. So if you're trading them, be careful to exit quickly. Real estate is in the leading quadrant and gaining momentum. So any kind of breakouts, you can take it from this sector. And if it corrects, look to buy on dips. Consumer durables is just inside the leading. It doesn't have too much of relative strength, but nevertheless, it's slow. In fact, consumer durables and FMCG, very, very similar in nature, is likely to give us a short-term move in the first half of next week. Keep a close look at stocks like Hindustan Unilever, ITC, Dabur, Tata Consumers, Britannia, Nestle. Nestle definitely, yes. So consumer durables, FMCG. Now let's look into those which are weakening. Metals, where is it? Wait, let me fit it. Yes, now it looks better. So metals coming off. Now it's going horizontal towards the left. So it's lost momentum. Now it's underperforming. I would still suggest to be very careful with your metal trade stocks within this space. Small caps and commodities are in the similar grounds. Now let's look at the fact that if IT and real estate, let's say real estate slows down a little bit, IT reacts down, FMCG, consumer durables holds on, then which are the sectors? Which is the sector which is going to lead the Nifty if we have to see a break of 18K on the upside for the October contract? Let's take a look at auto. We spoke about auto, how the index has completely lost any grounds on the left hand side. It has barely any space. It's in the lagging, and see, it has just started to pick up some momentum, and that's why we've seen some movement coming in the auto. This kind of movement that we've seen in auto stocks recently, they will give you corrections, short-term corrections. They will then unlikely to run away. So you will get enough opportunity if the trend reversal holds in the auto. PSU banks, except State Bank of India, it doesn't make sense to trade any others. Pharma, now there's a lag over here. Pharma is in the lagging and it's losing momentum. It's essentially most of the stocks are not doing good, but primarily Sun Pharma. We've spoken about it last week, gave a good move. So interesting. It can give us a short-term move. We'll look into few stocks. Then private banks, media is just picking up momentum. It got a huge move. We've seen that. So it can continue to gain some grounds, and Bank Nifty and energy. Energy, Bank Nifty, I think are the important two sectors. If you if you look at it, and of course to some extent auto, but auto has a lot of grounds to cover to go to the improving quadrant. On the other hand, private banks and bank nifty and energy, let's say bank nifty and energy are the two pockets one should look at. If you take a look at the pharmaceutical stocks, as I was saying, it's Sun Pharma, which gave an impressive move. This is the daily chart, a beautiful breakout on the upside after shunning up away from this ascending triangular pattern. On a Friday's movement, if you see, most of the stocks were flat. Oro Pharma, Torrent Pharma is flattish. Cipla is showing some bit of strength, so is Alchem. Cadila, nothing much. DVs has a complete breakdown. Biocon is struggling. Dr. Reddy is on the verge of a trend reversal, and so is Lupin in a downtrend. So it's a mixed space. There are definite stocks which are in a downtrend. There are definite stocks which are showing strength. So nothing much, but overall, if you take a look at the pharmaceutical sector index, then it's a verge of a breakout. So I think strength from Sun Pharma, Cipla, and some odd stocks which are in an uptrend can push this index up to its recent high. See this? So Dr. Reddy can be one stock which may hold on to its trend reversal. When it comes to the auto space, Tata Motors definitely is the one which is leading. So any short-term correction from here on can be a very good opportunity. Asha Motors is giving us an opportunity now. If you can see, it has gone through this correction. Bharat Forge has gone into a downtrend, and it's at very, very important support levels for the stock. We should mark this. We should keep it marked. Maruti gave a very good move, and it equally gave a very good, drop on the downside. This is the kind of volatility which short-term traders will not appreciate. Bajaj Auto, on the other hand, has just gone through a trend reversal, and this is the first correction. Very, very interesting juncture for Bajaj Auto going forward. So I think overall, before we wrap it up, the index has picked up a little bit of volatility. Erstwhile strong sector IT has given clear signs of a slowdown, like an ease off. There is a little bit of index management helped by FMCG, consumer durables kind of stocks. Few auto stocks also moved pretty well. Energy also doing decent. PSU stocks, we saw how beautiful stocks like ONGC, NTPC. Power stocks also move. So overall, there will be thematic movements, there will be scopes of breakouts, there will be opportunities on the long side. But having said all of this, I think the environment is not completely of complacency. We should not be complacent. And we should be a little bit of extra careful about the trades after we enter them, and protect the open profits when it comes. It's probably not the best of time to follow the trend comfortably, because I think this recent volatility is here to stay. Let's see what's in store next week. That's all for the index wrap. Let's move ahead and let's discuss your stock doubts and trades that you are willing to take next week.